I first came into caregiving just observing my mother, who was caring for her mother, my grandmother, who lived to be 100. And she lived in the family home with my mom. And I just sort of, from a distance, I helped and filled in when I needed to, but I never realized the complexity of it. So it was grandma first. And then after she passed, about 5 years later is when mom's health began to decline. And we had a 5-year run. I was here. There's just two of us, my sister and I. My sister was in California. And 5 years in, then Dad began to decline. And so I had a 10-year run with both Mom and Dad. I knew nothing about healthcare systems, really. I didn't know about long-term care. I didn't know the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. I didn't know anything, and I was 50. If I had known what I know now, I would have started with Detroit Area Agency on Aging, where they could have plugged me into different services. Mom had to go into a nursing home. Dad was at the family home, which was about 10 blocks from each other, which made it easy. I got a job with the Institute of Gerontology at Wayne State, and I had an old journalism degree. I call it a 20th century journalism degree. So all of that, once I realized that this was something that a lot of people were struggling with, I said, and this is early on in the caregiving, people need some place where they can go and get the information. Through my advocacy work with the state, once I worked at Wayne State, and then I sat on the Michigan Commission for Service for the Aging, and I learned how the dollars flowed and what they went to. I learned that there were very few dollars that went towards marketing of resources. So a lot of programs were underutilized. So I said, when I get through this, I'm gonna come up with a newspaper and inform people and educate people about what's available. I titled the paper Urban Aging News, and it's a quarterly, and it launched in 2015, and I circulated to all 3 counties, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, to senior centers, a lot of churches. I used to run a piece in the paper where we highlighted caregivers, and most of them would say, and I had to agree with them, that caregiving, mom and dad, or one of the parents, maybe one of them that they weren't as close to, that it really brought about them being closer to their parent. It's an awesome responsibility, and that became very clear to me. I'm totally responsible for mom. I'm totally responsible. And I guess, I mean, she was totally responsible for me at one point. But it makes you very clear that that's what caregiving is. And if you love the person, you want to make sure that you're providing them with this as excellent a care as possible.